and the big man, right? Where was the president, I mean, former president, former vice president? I'm glad that they are not here. Basically, I think we have to graduate from the politics of big men to the politics of big ideas. You see, we have become obsessed with this idea of big men. So when you speak about political parties, you do not speak of parties in terms of the content of the party and what the party represents. But you speak about, okay, His Excellency former this is there, His Excellency former this is there. Even as we know, these excellencies are the very people who have destroyed this country. So for goodness sake, how do we hope to make progress if we are bringing the same people who have destroyed the same country and asking them to reform the elections or to reform whatever we want them to reform? So I think the starting point is that we as citizens, we have to mentally make this paradigm shift from talking about big men, talking about big ideas. The world today is driven by big ideas, not by big men. That's one point. The second point, I think, is that for me, and I think for quite a number of us, I've seen a number of colleagues in this business of improving the elections in this country. For the last 15 years, I have attended a number of these. I've been in committees, we have written reports, open reports, but every election turns out to be worse than the election that we have had before. So I don't think we should be repeating the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. Because Einstein, I think, is the one who said, repeating the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is actually a definition of insanity. We would be crazy to be thinking that things are going to improve. I think all of us here, especially members of this forum that has invited all of us to come, are well aware that the body language of this government and the government before it, and even the government before that, is not for any electoral reform. Even if you succeed in pushing any reform, that reform is not going to be respected. Those rules of law are not going to be respected. And for goodness sake, why do we repeat the same thing over? So I would have thought, if we are going to have any discussion on our elections, it will be actually, discussion on electoral rigging rather than reform. Because that's the real problem. We should be discussing how do we stop rigging. That should be the next conference. I don't think we should bother ourselves about reform or even constitutional amendment. And I sometimes think that I actually suspect Wale Ukuni is like he's working for this government. Why do you want us to this red herring, really? Taking away our attention from the real thing that is confronting us, rigging. So why don't we actually have a conference on rigging? And I can tell you, if you have a conference on electoral rigging, the government will wake up. If you talk about reform for the next 100 days, the government is not going to be bothered about, because they control the National Assembly, they control INEC, they control the courts, they control everybody, even the clergy, the ulama. So why do they bother? But when you speak about electoral rigging, I can assure you they will wake up. Now, I think there are three things I'll just make very quickly. We have, I think, the whole idea of the reform is actually to improve our country. We want Nigeria to be where it should be. Nigeria should be ahead of where Brazil is, ahead of where Malaysia is, ahead of Singapore. These are its peers. They should be there. Why are we not there? And in the next 25 years, like some of you know, Nigeria is going to be the third largest country in the world in terms of population. And in the next 25 years, Africa will have doubled its population. It will have the youngest population in the world. The mean age will be 19. And it will have all the minerals that the world is looking for to get to the next century. So Nigeria has a role to play, but we are not preparing it for this. And so the point now is basically, how do we remove the obstacles that have kept us down and has prevented us from being where we should be? One of them, and I'll just mention three, is the fact that we have allowed the criminals amongst us to use religion to divide us. So we have to address the issue of manipulation of religion. Many of the politicians who are funding churches, funding mosques and ulama, many of them are criminals who benefit from this division. Because they only win their elections when there is crisis and division. And therefore we should address this issue as citizens. Secondly, up till now, we have no idea of where we want our country to be in the next 10 years, the next 15 years, the next 25 years. We as elite, we have no consensus as to where we want our country to be. We have allowed politicians, if they care, to have a policy document for their election, then we read it, and they are the ones who will decide for us where they want to take us. We as citizens, we have a responsibility to come together, craft a document that will be very clear as to where we want our economy to be, where we want our society to be, where we want our human capital to be. There are metrics that are used to measure progress and development. We should use those metrics to show exactly, and there should be a national consensus among elites, so that when people come to speak or to seek for leadership, we can now measure their capacity based on where we really want our country to be in the next few years. If, for example, we want the GDP to get to where it wants to be, with the Human Development Index to be the human capital, energy consumption, transport, the number of mileage of rail, and these are the things, because for development you need three basic things. You need energy, you need transport, you need skills. Where are they? Who is talking about them? Who is fixing them? So we need a document on which there should be a national consensus. The other thing that I think we also need to ensure is the fact that in the next 1 year, if the reforms pass through, we are going to be at elections, isn't it? We have seen what has happened in Cameroon. We have seen Tanzania. We have seen Madagascar. We have seen a number of countries. We have seen Kenya. What are we doing to prepare for our Cameroon, for our Kenya, for our Tanzania? Where are the elites providing the leadership? If the crisis brews and explodes, what are we going to do? What scenarios are we expecting? We have to manage the scenarios that are likely to unfold. Finally, I think we complain a lot. And I think we have to wake up to the reality of the world. In the real world, nobody gets what he deserves. Everybody gets what he negotiates for. And the currency for that negotiation is power. You ain't got power, you ain't got nothing. The good news is power has a variety of sources. Power is not only military, power is not only political, power is not only economic. Power can be intellectual, it can be moral, it can be demographic. We need to harvest those other sources of power to be able to negotiate where we want to be and what we want to be. Thank you very much.